Nancy Janovicek. I'm a professor of history at the University of Calgary here, and I have worked at the University of Calgary since 2005. I was surprised, actually. I was very surprised to get the email. I was very touched. It means a lot when people from the community recognize the work that you're doing in the community. I'll also add that for some reason my grandmother was a massive fan of the Queen. Immigrant from Slovakia, really no reason to have a connection to the monarchy, but she loved the Queen and the royal family. And when my younger brother texted me to say, imagine what Babka would think, okay, I was a little teary then. You know, I wasn't going to be a professor when I went back to school. I was going to work for the Statics of Women Canada and do feminist analysis of policy, which is maybe why I teach social policy and I teach about social movements and how to make, how people mobilize their resources to make change, and why I'm interested in the history of politics and in government policy was that. So, I mean, initially that was the plan, and then I went on to do the PhD. And again, even when I did the PhD, I worked for the Frida Center for Research on Violence Against Women and Children. And so I always kept that option open that I would move into policy analysis. But things worked out for me and I became a professor. I enjoy the opportunity to research. I enjoy the freedom and the flexibility in being able to develop a research program that is in line with my interests, but also my concerns about making change and about social policy. I teach 20th century, focusing on the women's movement and other social justice movements. I'm moving into a program on, poverty reduction and feminist plans for poverty reduction. And I like the questions that students ask. And also to think about, you really learn what the concerns of young people are in the kinds of questions that they are asking. And they're asking big questions about the world, they're asking big questions about policy, they're asking big questions about why people thought the way they thought, and then I'll say, well, why do people think the way they think now? So they're thinking really big, so sometimes the way that they ask the questions makes me think differently. The reason I want to teach history is because I want, again, students to understand that the past was complex. I want them to understand people made choices and decisions. I want them to understand that there is a connection between the past and the present, right? I don't teach them that the past is another place, because we know through issues like residential schools is the issue that's really crucial in Canada right now, but also connected that to the issue of, it's in the news again, missing and murdered Indigenous women. Those are legacies of centuries of, or at least a century, right, of policy making and policy developments in the treatment of Indigenous people. So it's not just in the past. They need to consider the connections between the past and the present, and to think with history. I borrow this from John Tosh, right? To think with history. How does understanding the past help me make better decisions and choices about policy development and about the community work that I want to do, about the potential impact, right, of the work that we do with people in communities. Do you know what I'm going to say by that? I'm going to say the Canadian Committee on Women's History and the Canadian Historical Association, so I don't leave anyone out. I mean, certainly my supervisors, Joy Parr, Mary Lynn Stewart, and Marjorie Griffin-Cohen were really important. Frida, Yasmin Jawani from she was at the Frida Center when I was doing work there. They were really formative when I was a graduate student in helping me to understand how to balance the research and the teaching and the community work. And then as I moved into the career, it's the community of feminist scholars, nationally and internationally. I mean, I'd say students are doing good work, right? When I get off the train and I see that there's going to be a protest against tuition increases, the students are making the connection, right? I like the talk art that they're doing, I like the organizing that they're doing, and I would say that this work is ongoing.